Hi, I'm Torte Lini. With the release of patch 7.37 and 7.37b, Position 4 soft supports in the offlane are becoming a shoulder to lean on for Position 3 core offlaners, usually as a very comfortable way to creating setups for guaranteed kills, or as a hero that can stack jungle camps for the Position 3 and can flash farm themselves for those nice big aura items. In 7.36, we saw a lot of popularity for heroes like Hoodwink and Weaver, and while they have been nerfed significantly, a slew of new and old heroes take their place to achieve the same goals and more. So with that said, let's check in on which heroes are standing strong this patch according to my expertise and data from dotaproject.com. Oh, and my in-game guides are updated to patch 7.37b with over 100 changes. I said it before and I'll say it again. Another TI, another Spirit Breaker surge in popularity. Now granted, he's been nerfed a ton of times in 7.36b, 7.36c, and 7.37, where his Bull Rush Facet effect doesn't last as long after you charge. The mana cost for Charge of Darkness is much higher as you max it out, which you usually do second, and in 7.37, Charge of Darkness needs some time to ramp up, so quick follow-up charges to deal greater bash damage won't be as significantly painful as it once was. To add, in 7.37, they also made it so the Bull Rush Facet's lingering extra movement speed is based on your current bonus movement speed rather than the maximum you achieved during charge, which really slows his escape to a more feasible level to cancel out. In short, all these changes are leading up to a shift in where Charge of Darkness's most valuable scenario becomes from further away to initiate rather than a vehicle to consistently deal damage quickly from your greater bash. The more movement speed items that Spirit Breaker has, the more time and thus distance he'll need to reach maximum speed and thus maximum damage with greater bash. What's more is that any post-initiation Charge of Darkness that are casted from much closer to a fight deal less damage overall. So even though the hero plays like a jet, making multiple runs into a fight to stun, his damage output has been weakened and his escape method, the Bull Rush Facet, isn't as effective as it once was. Okay, so now everything I just told you, ignore it, because this hero is still absolutely too strong. Spirit Breaker is still ever so relevant because he can enable other lanes with his initiation while not missing a step in his levels despite leaving his lane. This is all thanks to his innate ability herd mentality, which helps keep the team afloat, meaning he can stay within the level range of your team even if he is especially proactive with ganks or rotations and not always in lane to build up his experience and levels. This liberates Spirit Breaker from his weakest point in the game, the laning stage, where he has little to offer and gives him the freedom to regularly gank mid lane or just outright give solo experience to the offlaner, assuming they can handle being alone altogether. So playing with heroes like Underlord or Timbersaw, who just need a bit of help in the first few minutes before they can handle the lane by themselves, work really well with Spirit Breaker, who's off to destroy mid or to safe lane. The most annoying part about Spirit Breaker is that he really needs no items, Bracer, Phase Boots, and his main bitch Shadow Blade, which allows him to initiate with Charge of Darkness, pop the Shadow Blade for extra speed and thus damage through his Greater Bash passive, and the enemy wouldn't be able to respond to it without a well-timed interrupting ability and vision with a Sentry Ward. That's not something most people are prepared for, let alone uncoordinated teams when Spirit Breaker's team is starting to gank in the mid-game. What's more is even after you hit the enemy, your Shadow Blade invisibility remains intact, so you can still rely on it to safely initiate and then run away with increased movement speed from the Bull Rush Facet. So that level of global threat at all stages of the game by a position 4 support is what makes Spirit Breaker so strong. That he can lead or assist in ganks across the map, making heroes that need to farm unlikely to be able to do it in peace. Now throw in other global heroes like Tinker and Nature's Prophet who are gaining popularity, and the enemy team has a real power on their hands. Late game items can include stuff like Black King Bar, Offlane Core, so you can charge on a 9.8 second cooldown, 6.8 with your level 25 talent, and Yashan Kaya, which doubles up in value for your greater bash, more movement speed for more damage, and increased damage from the Kaya spell damage amplification. In 7.37, Marci has become more and more appealing as the developers have been slowly buffing her bodyguard facet. From 7.36b, they've raised the lifesteal values for both facets, and 7.37, where bodyguard now gives a bit better late game armor, but also any damage that Marci life steals from also heals her targeted ally. The difference between the two is simple. For starters, one, they both give Marci lifesteal and bonus base attack damage. That doesn't change regardless which facet you choose. Number two, the sidekick facet gives lifesteal and bonus base damage to Marci and a nearby ally if they stay near, and that lasts throughout your life. 3. The bodyguard facet does not give lifesteal or bonus base damage, but armor for 6 seconds, and any damage that Marci deals during that 6 seconds from any distance, the ally is also healed. And number 4, the bodyguard facet has a small AoE where if an enemy is attacking or being attacked by your targeted ally, Marci will attack back if within range, plus an extra bonus range. So the bodyguard facet has some similarities to sidekick, and you as a player need to decide which facet makes the most sense to you. Use the Facet Sidekick for teammates who can take advantage of the damage like Legion Commander or Vengeful Spirit, and use the Bodyguard Facet for heroes that aren't as reliant on their attack but more on the defensiveness like Timbersaw or Pudge, where your harassment will heal them or you're dealing with an especially aggressive lane. Sometimes it would even make sense to go Bodyguard Facet on Legion, as during her duel you'll be attacking enemies twice as much since Bodyguard counterattacks every attack received or dealt by your ally. The reality is that both facets are now much closer to value than before, and have a lot of interesting synergies not just in laning but also in the mid game. More importantly though, Marci is picked a lot with today's meta offlane heroes because her rebound stun gives both movement speed and initiation setup for your offlaner to follow through. A simple combination would be something like using Rebound on Primal Beast to jump on a Slark for Primal Beast to then take advantage of that extra movement speed to get more trample damage dealt. And Marci's build is very simple. After Bracer and Phase Boots, Marci builds Black King Bar and Ag Shard to make her initiation with Rebound easier, and so you can deal Unleash damage without being interrupted. Hey, by the way, need help with your game? Check me out live on Twitch, where I regularly answer your questions daily while testing all your favorite hero builds. If you love the channel and want to see more videos, please like and subscribe. Over 83% of my audience last month were from drive-by viewers, and you could be part of the cool 17% who are subscribed. We talked about Leshrac as a mid laner, but have you tried Leshrac as a support? We're talking 1500 pure damage dealt with your level 4 Diabolic Edict in 6 seconds, as Leshrac players are now opting for the Mythanthropy facet, which shortens your Diabolic Edict duration, and thus the damage output is more compacted in a smaller time frame. In 7.37, they buffed this by reducing that duration from 7 seconds to now 6 seconds, and that means you are dealing your total Diabolic Edict damage within a smaller time frame, giving you a stronger guarantee you'll kill your targets within your Split Earth stun duration and mini slow from Lightning Storm. The downside is that you cannot hit towers anymore with Diabolic Edict, but in exchange you are massively securing your lane, and you pair so well with a lot of great meta heroes that enable you to stay on top of your enemies and deal damage. Heroes like Darkseer with Iron Shell and Surge, Enigma with Drum of Endurance and Malefice, Mars with his God's Rebuke slow and Spear Stun, and Axe with Berserker's Call and Battle Hunger slow are just a few examples. So the hero comes with damage that is just unmatched, that only needs to focus on surviving, which Leshrac does just fine with a Yules, or if no one else is buying, Guardian Greaves. Just like the mid laner, Leshrac buys Blink Dagger so he can jump into a fight post initiation or when the timing is right, and just stay on top of his enemies as they try to flee. Pair that with his level 15 talent and Yules, and you have a hero of insane movement speed, stay on top of his enemies, and massive damage. It makes ganking with Leshrac all the more potent throughout the mid lane when most enemies are trying to build their damage, whereas Leshrac is just focused on surviving. I've aligned my previous Pod 3 Leshrac build to be a Pod 4, and looking forward to hearing how you guys have succeeded with them. Did someone say setup heroes? There's no one sweeter than Dark Willow with her Bramble Maze and her Cursed Crown to really make core offlaners follow through with ease. A classic combination would be something like Mars Arena into Dark Willow's Terrorize to force enemies to get hit by the Arena Spears, or rooting an enemy that's out of position with Legion Commander to then duel while you use Bedlam to guarantee the kill. Her innate ability Pixie Dust helps alleviate a lot of her mana problems in the early game by amplifying your mana and health spin generation when using Shadow Realm. So instead of going Arcane Boots, you can now just opt for Tranquil Boots to make landing your Cursed Crown on an enemy all the more easier because of your increased movement speed and thus positioning. And that transition to a cheaper boots item like Tranquil means you can opt for Eul's Scepter for that late game mana regeneration on top of using the Cyclone to guarantee the Cursed Crown stun. Dark Willow's facet, Thorny Thicket, is still a popular pick because of its more forgiving AoE and higher likelihood to consecutively root enemies, whereas her other facet, Growing Shade, is also seeing some popularity as the facet essentially gives you a forgiving 700 radius of increased damage amplification while you are charging your Shadow Realm attack. So Dark Willow players are basically leaning harder into Yule's and Cursed Crown disabling combo to then Bedlam enemies while simultaneously charging your Shadow Realm. It's a really strong mid-game combination, especially if you buy Blink Dagger to maximize your window of damage with Shadow Realm and Bedlam while near an enemy doing your combo. Other than that, Dark Willow is still pretty much the same as before. She loves the maxed out Shadow Realm for great damage, now even more valuable with the innate ability Pixie Dust. She goes Tranquil Boots and Yules, and she's still a great team fighter with Terrorize either as a great way to stall enemy initiators or as a follow-up to your own initiations, and her new level 25 talent leans into that with a plus 500 damage dealt when casting Terrorize. Rubick is just as relevant before as he is now. He is the definition of a meta hero, as enemy picks like Sand King, Mars, Puck, and Lina are seeing a lot of popularity and have a lot of great abilities for Rubick to steal and deal back. The popularity of Rubick predicates on these types of enemies being drafted to really flip the switch on their initiation and damage output. In 7.36b and 7.37, they've been reducing Rubick's early game harassment strength by reducing the bonus attack damage you receive from Might and Magus, but also Arcane Supremacy, which fed into Might and Magus bonus attack damage with its spell amplification. So while Rubick may not have the best offerings to set up a kill during the laning stage, besides a quick telekinesis, he has amazing damage output through his auto attack and his innate ability, as well as Fade Bolt reducing enemies' attack damage. So paired with heroes like Darkseer, Visage, or even Vengeful Spirit, where they are just looking to secure their lane and oppress the enemy safe laner, Rubick can be really strong in ensuring the lane stays that way. In terms of item and skill build, he hasn't really changed that much. He still loves 8 to Lens, Blink Dagger to blink in and steal crucial spells immediately after they're casted, and then maintain a good distance to safely cast those spells. Now his facets are split evenly in terms of value. You can opt for Arcane Accumulation with stealing a lot of different spells, whereas Frugal Filch can revolve around focusing on one spell, like a Reverse Polarity, Flaming Lasso, etc., and making sure you always have the mana for it. Both are really great. I prefer Arcane Accumulation in general, but it's down to you to choose as you prefer. In terms of honorable mentions, it'd be easier for me to mention Tinker real quick because he's still just as strong, but honestly, let's talk about Tiny again. It's true that Tiny as a whole has been significantly nerfed, but the hero is still solid as an offlane support because it's the same great tasting toss, but with less levels and with all the usual annoyance as your regular core Tiny hero. This is all because the crash landing facet is still overall very strong, and Tiny again needing very few items to be able to fulfill his role. In 7.36c and 7.37, they've reduced the movement and attack slow early on for toss, but late game it stays relatively the same, whereas the damage has taken a 5% loss on the bonus landing damage, 10 less in his level 15 talents, and 100 less at Grow's final level. So all in all, you are dealing less damage in fights, but you're still playing on a low cooldown massive AoE of 400 now, and you can flash farm incredibly easy with it. During the laning stage, you can rely on toss as your opening ability to both slow and deal massive damage to your enemy targets. This pushes Tiny from a subpar offlane support to a massive lane dominator with, again, very few items needed. So a combo like Tiny tossing Mars to spear the enemy towards you, or how about tossing Enigma's Edelins for free damage without screwing up the lane, or just even tossing Enigma to Malefice or Black Hole into Edelin damage is massively strong, including the crash landing facet. Come the mid game, Tiny just needs a Blink Dagger where he can farm incredibly quickly thanks to the added damage of toss through your Grow ultimate ability as well as the crash landing facet. With Blink, it's the same old Tiny as before, ganking on squishy enemies so you can Avalanche Toss Avalanche combo them, but now in the late game, you can rely on the added AoE of Crash Landing Toss to regularly deal nuke damage into a fight without putting yourself at risk until you're ready to jump in. All in all, Tiny as a Pause 2 may be done, but Tiny as a Pause 4 still follows the same enhancements we talked about for the mid lane in the past, but now for off lane and beyond. Alrighty, well, that's every single role done. Let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see next, and as always, I'll be responding to your questions in the comment section, trying my best to help you all out.